Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. If we haven't met before, my name is Sarah. If you're returning, thank you for watching. I would love you to like and subscribe to my channel as I'm trying to grow awareness around working with the nervous system. And today I just wanted to talk about how I have transformed my life and got myself out of a bad relationship, I guess you would call it. I look upon it as a growth opportunity now, but got myself out of that relationship for good after a lot of toing and froing. Booked 2 houses and cleared myself out of over $200,000 worth of debt, and am now about to embark on travelling the world. And I'm hoping that I will take you on a journey through my journey around the world and my insights, and there will be a lot of nervous system regulation going on as travelling always, life requires us to. So in some of my other vlogs or videos, I have talked a little bit about, how the nervous system works and why we're wired for safety, and those younger formative years and the environment we were brought up in really determines how we navigate our lives and what we're attracted to, and then how we work within those relationships basically to survive the best way that we can. And not all of those strategies are helpful. And we can find ourselves just in cycles and loops, or you find those same people coming into your life all the time that you just can't understand, what you're doing to attract this situation or this person or this experience back into your life. And of course, it all comes from our energy. So I kind of stumbled, but was being steered towards working with the nervous system about maybe 8-9 years ago now, when I went to support somebody I knew starting yoga classes, and my life was an absolute mess then, and I was running around trying to fill my life up with every distraction you can imagine, in a toxic relationship, in a job that was no longer fulfilling, and I wanted to leave, but and working with somebody that was quite difficult to work with, and not knowing how to get out of any of those situations. And I had all these plans, but didn't have the courage to step into them. And so I went along to this yoga class, and of course the first thing she did was to get us to slow down and ground ourselves, focus on the breath before we even started the class. And I'd always been a high impact kind of gal, did a lot of running, did a lot of high impact aerobics, and I was just in my head saying, come on, get on with it. It was all about exercise. I distracted myself with food, dieting, exercise. They were other ways of coping in a very chaotic world that I was living in, mostly from the thoughts going on in my little brain, and trying to people please and prove I was good enough and all the things. But I stuck with those classes, and I really felt different. I started to feel different from going to the classes, and I started to really look forward to those weekly classes. Sorry, there's a vehicle just about to come roaring past again. So my apologies if you can hear it in the background. It's not too bad. And I also at the same time was looking into energy healing. I started studying to be a body talk practitioner and got really involved in that, which I did study and become a practitioner. I was also very interested in neuroscience and quantum physics, started to get into meditation, and it was just all about being present. And I even hadn't made the correlation until quite recently that it was working on my nervous system that allowed me to then step into the uncomfortableness of making the changes in my life. And I'm so grateful for finding that yoga class and practicing those skills. And I think that's why we often get stuck in the loop of the trauma, the drama, especially if you've grown up in with unpredictability around you. It's strangely familiar, and that's what our nervous system is wired for, familiarity. And so if something's familiar to you, you'll sit in it for literally donkey's years. And some people never get out of it. It's just they don't like it, but it's familiar. And in that familiarity, it feels safe, bizarrely. It's really a strange phenomenon. But so what I've come to realise now, and which is hopefully helpful for all of you, is that if you work on your nervous system, if you work on calming the parasympathetic nervous system, that's when you're able to step outside what's normal for you, because then you've got the tools to be able, even though that anxiety, that that discomfort will come up, which is another thing that, of course, yoga philosophy is very strong in. It's finding your edge, finding that point of discomfort, especially yin yoga, and holding it there. Right on that, I don't really like this, I'm not sure about this, but okay, it's actually okay. Getting out of that fight and fright or freeze, I'm looking for the word, you know what I mean, going there and being stuck there. So response, that's the word I was looking for, sorry. Got to finish my coffee, I don't want to waste my lovely coffee. So by working with my nervous system, I, one step at a time, just managed to be able to trust myself. I stopped putting my expectations on other people to perform a certain way or and then be disappointed. Also abandoning myself and what my needs and wants were for somebody else's dysregulated nervous system. I could hold space for myself. I could start to trust myself more. I could start to listen to my intuition more. And through that, I actually navigated ending my relationship, quitting my job, not all at once. I did think about doing it all at once. After I went and actually ended up going to Thailand and for 5 weeks and did my teacher training over there on an ashram. And during that time, having that space away from the environment that I was in, I really advocate for that. Find places, maybe it's nature, just going and spending time in nature, but getting yourself out of the environment that you're in. Sometimes we tell ourselves we can't leave because of all these outside things, and we just get stuck in this narrative in our brain about the safety of an income, the safety of having that person there, because we don't know what our life looks like without those things in it. But by taking yourself out of those environments, and just even to begin with, starting with small times away, maybe it's a weekend, maybe it's to begin with just a few hours, but connecting into nature is really, really helpful to your nervous system as well. And just allowing yourself to settle into just being by yourself. I was a person that was never by myself. I just filled up every aspect of my life constantly with other people, with things to do. If I was home, I would be cleaning, or I would be out exercising, or doing jobs. I could never just sit with myself. And so finding that meditative practice, maybe it's just going for a walk on the beach or a bush walk. So there's a little fly flying around. It not only grounds and centers you and is really good for the soul, it just allows you to, it can be like a walking meditation, right? And just start to observe, be the observer of your own thoughts. And you realise that quite often you're thinking the same thoughts. Sorry, there's a little fly, what's the fly all around me. Those thoughts can quite often be just on repeat. And they definitely were for me. And actually a counsellor, I did a lot of talk therapy as well as a lot of other things. And for the large part, the talk therapy didn't really help me because it's all in the mind. And really, if we want to make change, we've got to work somatically with the body and the breath. We hold everything in our body. Our body keeps a score. If you're suffering from any kind of dis-ease or health problems, then you've really got to get to the emotional aspect of what's going on for you to be creating a physical experience in the body. And then you can start to let that stuff go, and you'll find that your health really improves. And our body's just talking to us all the time. Those pain points, especially pain, it's wanting you to look at something. It's the same with emotional, mental pain. It's there because it's wanting you to look at it and examine it and feel into it, and not, you can't actually think your way out of a situation. I had to learn that too. It doesn't come through the mind. I've spent hours and hours trying to think myself, oh, well, if I do this, how am I going to do this? How, trying to work it all out. But the best thing you can do is just work with your nervous system to settle it down, and then take the first safe steps that it feels that your system can cope with. So for me, it was going off and doing my yoga training course, and through that course, I noticed what a difference. I mean, that was a whole journey in itself, and it brought up a lot of stuff I needed to work on within myself, my own self-confidence, my own trust in myself. A whole lot of stuff came up about being good enough and all those wounds that a lot of us are walking around and holding on to. And when we're coming from that place, of course, we attract things that are in alignment with that. It's just a mirror to where we are. If you're in a situation or a relationship where you're not being respected, it's like, where are you not respecting yourself? If you are being abandoned, if people aren't taking any notice of you, you're not seen or heard by other people around you, where are you not seeing or hearing yourself? We have to always turn it back on ourselves and stop looking for the validation outside of ourselves. That's the biggest key things I can give to you. So through learning all these different things, I was able to come back, and within 24 hours of being back, actually, I told my then husband, that I wanted a divorce, and I felt so calm about it. I knew that it was the right thing, and I didn't know how it was going to work. I knew financially I was going to be in a way worse situation, and in my mind I was like, well, that just keeps me trapped in this job that I don't really want to work in anymore for longer. But I didn't let that put me off. I just knew I had to take that one step. So I took that one step, and then I bought myself a little house, and I knew it wasn't going to be my forever house. I stayed with the job, but I kept working on my nervous system. I got used to being on my own. I got deeper into meditation. I went and did Dr. Joe Dispenza's teachings, went to his, I think it's called the Progressive, his first course that you have. It's a prerequisite to his advanced retreats. Then I went and did an advanced retreat with him. I meditated daily. I practiced yoga every day. I journaled. I really tapped into gratitude. I really tapped into nature, and before I knew it, I had let go of the job as well, and I moved to a little piece of land by the beach. I'd wanted to move there for 2 years before that, and when I had worked on myself enough, then I was able to take that next step. And then I built myself my first house and then started my own little business, a yoga business, an energy healing business in this little town that I was now living in, and continued those daily practices of grounding myself and having trust in myself and my abilities, even when I couldn't really see it sometimes. You know, there were times when everyone cancelled on the yoga class and that was my income. So I had to go back. I had to go back and do a little bit of teaching, which just so to settle my nervous system, so I didn't have to have that constant worry of where the next penny was coming from. And if people, for some reason, couldn't come, it seemed to be a snowball effect because I had only a small group of people that would come to my yoga classes, holding them in my home, and they were usually friends or family members. And if one cancelled, then hello, it was quite funny how that kind of just rolled into the next person. Before you knew it, you didn't have anyone coming. But it was all teaching me to just sit with my nervous system and trust it was all going to be okay. And so I did that for a couple of years, navigated my own, and then I decided I didn't even want to be tied into having to show up to do classes and to be somewhere at a certain time. So I made the bold move of selling that house so that I could get out of debt. And at that point, I was in over $200,000 worth of debt. I didn't know how I was going to build another house within budget. I wanted to be able to build another house without any debt, and I didn't know how that was going to happen. And I spent months actually walking around my neighbourhood, because I still wanted to stay in the same neighbourhood, trying to think my way into it. And in the end, I just knew that I just had to trust the process. And so I just put my house on the market anyway. Nothing was selling at the time. I had one group of people that came through my house, and they were the ones that bought it. And I just believe strongly that I manifested that I just saw that it was sold. I went with my intuition. Nothing in my neighbourhood was selling. In fact, the market was like pretty slow everywhere. But my house sold and I made good money on it. So, and then I had a friend that actually owned a piece of land in the neighbourhood that I wanted to be in, who was also in a getting out of a marriage situation, and they offered me the section at a really good price. And I found a great building company that could build for me within budget, and wahoo, I found myself in my new house debt-free. And also, as life happened, my mum got sick, she died, and I was able to step in and look after my dad for the last 15 months of his life and share some precious time with my dad in this house. And it all came down to working with my nervous system. So if you want to create change in your life, I really, really encourage you to start focusing on your nervous system. Don't try and work it out in your mind how you're going to get out of it. Start to learn how to trust yourself again, how to turn inwards, how to do the work on yourself. There's a lot of stuff happening out there in the world, which is, I think, by design, trying to dishevel our nervous systems, all the systems that are at play, the whole working 9 to 5, the whole lack and victim stuff that's out there is all there to dysregulate our nervous system. And it's time to take our sovereignty back and start building and creating our own dream lives, doing our inner work, trusting ourselves, and building and growing our own dream reality. So that's pretty much my story in a nutshell. Of course, I could go into way more detail, and I will probably in other videos, but I don't want to make this video too long. I am, in 3 weeks' time, I've packed up my house. I'm now going to put it on Airbnb, so that it's earning some money for me while I'm traveling, and that is going to be my income. And I am going to travel the world. So I'm off to Europe first and then back to Asia, where I have already traveled before. And so I'm going to be taking you along because I want to take you through the highs and the lows of solo traveling as an older woman. And hopefully I can inspire others of you to do the same. That's what my channel's all about, is helping other people, women primarily, to have faith in themselves and to do the things that they want to do in their life. So I hope this video resonates with you. Much love to you. Thank you if you've listened all the way to the end. And hopefully I will see you next time. Much love. Bye for now.